Hi, and thanks for tuning in to Safe Berks Sexual Assault Awareness Month Expert Panel Discussion. My name is Natasha Trzynski, and I'm the Primary Prevention Specialist at Safe Berks. April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, also known as SAM. This year's campaign is I Ask, spreading the message that consent is a healthy, normal, and necessary part of everyday interactions. With me today, I have many Safe Berks staff members. I'd like to first start by saying thank you all for joining me, and I want to give you a chance to introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Sawyer. I am the Legal Advocate Coordinator for Safe Berks.
And I'm Jennifer Thompson. I'm staff attorney at Safe Berks.
I'm Megan Sager, Sexual Assault Response Team Coordinator at Safe Berks.
Hi, I'm Stacy Jordan. I'm the Campus Advocate and Paralegal at Safe Berks.
Hi, I am Macy Juberes. I am the Medical Advocate Program Coordinator at Safe Berks.
Thank you. Sexual assault is defined as any unwanted sexual contact or behavior made without consent. This includes unwanted touching, fondling, groping, and even rape. Rape is always sexual assault, but sexual assault is not always rape. In the United States, rape affects 1 in 5 women and 1 in 6 men some point in their lifetime. It is the most underreported crime in the United States and costs more than any other crime. Today, we're going to be going through what the services at Safe Berks looks like, and they're going to be answering questions based on normalcy of their job. However, due to the current health crisis of COVID-19, Safe Berks is currently not offering any in-person services. We are hoping that when the threat diminishes, we'll be able to jump right back in and start doing in-person counseling, in-person legal services, as well as campus advocacy and SART coordinators. In the meantime, feel free to reach out to us for all of our services that are occurring through telecommunications. I'd like to start with Macy. You are a medical advocate coordinator for the Reading Hospital. If someone would come into Reading Tower Health after they've been sexually assaulted, what might someone expect to happen next, or how can you and your team assist them?
Yeah. So first, I would like to say if you find yourself in this position and you know you want to come to the hospital and get a sexual assault kit, what I want to advise you to do is not eat, drink, urinate, or defecate. If you feel the need that you really want to change your clothes, we ask that you put them in a paper bag, not in a plastic bag. And we ask that you bring them with you to the hospital. So when they arrive to the hospital, what they can expect is to come in the emergency department entrance. You'll be met there by a nurse who will then talk to you and ask you why you're there. Once you disclose to that nurse why you are there, they take you back to a room as soon as possible, almost immediately. Once you get to the room, they will check you for any medical concerns or complaints that may arise from the assault or may have happened before. So this would be any broken bones or any kind of pain that you're having. They will address that before they start talking about the sexual assault kits. Once you are medically cleared, they would call myself or another medical advocate, and they would also call the sexual assault nurse examiner. The nurse and I will both arrive, and we both sit there and we will talk to you. We explain to you the process of reporting and what that means, as well as your options. So you have several different options for a sexual assault kit. So you can report as a Jane Doe, meaning that your name is not attached to it, and the police department is not currently investigating that crime. If you decide within a 2-year window that you do want to report this and you do want to know the results of your sexual assault kit, you can report within that time frame. The other option that you have is to get a sexual assault kit done, have your name attached to it, and report to the police right away. This way they can start investigating the crime right away, and they'll start processing your sexual assault kit. When you arrive to the hospital, you are not alone. You have the support of Safe Berks as well as the sexual assault nurses there with you.
For some of the viewers who aren't maybe not familiar with what the actual process of the rape kit is, would you be able to explain that just a little bit more?
Yeah, so it really depends on what the sexual assault looks like. So that means, was there vaginal penile penetration, or was it done digitally? with fingers or anything like that. So the extent of what the sexual assault kit looks like depends on the type of sexual assault. However, I can tell you right when you get in there, what will happen. The sexual assault nurse, myself, will be, and somebody like me will be there and will kind of explain to you the process of it. This means that the sexual assault nurse will start with a questioning. It's not questioning to interrogate you or make you question things that are going on, but they want to understand what happened so that they can move forward with the kit. So they do walk you through what happened that day. They record what you say verbatim, and they make sure that they get everything correctly in the system correctly. Then from there is they have swabs, and depending on how the sexual assault occurred, they will swab in your mouth for your own DNA. And then if you were kissed or licked anywhere, they swab for that. If it was vaginal or penile penetration, they also swab down there. They also, it is very similar to an OBGYN exam.
Is there a time constraint on when they can collect the evidence?
The time constraint also depends on the type of sexual assault. Being that I'm not a sexual assault nurse, I don't want to talk too much about it. I would just say if it happens within 120 hours, 5 days, make sure you're going to the hospital. And I would let that up to the sexual assault nurse to determine whether or not they feel that they should do the kit for you. If it's not within that 5 days, I would still suggest going to the hospital just to get checked out physically. They can offer a lot more than just a sexual assault kit. They can offer you Plan B to prevent the possibility of a pregnancy. They can also offer you the support of Safe Berks, and they can also offer STD and HIV prophylaxis.
Thank you. So we know that you're at Reading Tower Health, but you have advocates across Berks County at other local hospitals?
Yes. So I am at Tower Health, and I will respond anywhere to any of the Tower Health locations within Berks County. We also have Myra Morales, who is at all the Berks Community Health Centers. She rotates between all 5 centers, and she's at one each day of the week. And then we also have Letty Vasquez Pena, who works very closely with St. Joe's, and she responds to the downtown campus as well as the campus on 183.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Stacy, as the campus advocate working in the local colleges, you wear many hats. Can you tell us a little bit more about the services you offer to all of the college students?
Sure. So every victim or survivor situation is different. Many of them will come to me and be in different stages of their healing process. One of the most important pieces of information, it seems, to the students is that I am a completely confidential person that they can speak with. There's only a few select people on campus who are not required to make reports to the college. Myself being one of them, clergy, medical people, and also the counseling services. So that's just something I like to put out there. And it makes them more comfortable coming in and speaking with me and being a little bit more upfront about kind of what's going on, because they know that information will not need to leave my office. So when I talk about the different things that I do on campus, it does vary very much from college campus to college campus, and it varies from each victim and or survivor and where they're at in their journey. But some of the things that I do on campus are I will meet with students and just go over their options. We talk about, if they would like to report, what capacity they would like to report, whether or not they want to go through the civil court process. If they decide that they do and they would like to file a sexual violence protection order, I will go to the courthouse with them in Berks County, and I will follow them through that process. I will go to law enforcement if they decide that they would like to report to law enforcement. I will accompany them to their interviews. We will do some short-term empowerment counseling if that's something that they feel as though they want to do. I only will do a few sessions usually with those students, and if they require more or would like to further that counseling, I will refer them to Safe Berks, to the actual counseling department. We do some safety planning sometimes. And finally, I'd like to just talk about Title IX. Title IX is when an incident happens, an assault happens student on student, and it happens on campus. That is a right to all college students. And what will happen is they will report that incident to the Student Conduct Board. They will review and make sure that there is enough evidence there that they will move forward with a panel hearing. And at that panel hearing, I am able to act as their advisor. That is completely separate. I just want to emphasize that. That is completely separate from any kind of criminal proceeding or any kind of civil proceeding with the Court of Common Pleas. The Title IX hearing panel is simply held on college campuses for college students only.
Thank you, Stacy. And are you located at every college in Berks County? Do you have office hours? What does that look like for you?
So Mondays, I am at Berks Technical Institute from 9:30 to 1:30, and then I go out to Kutztown from 2 to 4:30. On Tuesdays, I am at Albright College from 1 to 4:30. On Wednesdays, I'm at BTI, which is Berks Technical Institute, from 4 to 7. Thursdays, I'm back out at Kutztown from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And on Friday, I am going to start some hours at Penn State Berks. We're thinking probably 10 a.m. to 1, and then I go out to Albright from 1:30 to 4:30. The other colleges, Reading Area Community College, I see students from there, but it's by appointment only. So their advisors and people at the college have my information, as well as I do tabling events and other ways to get my information out. And that is the same with Alvernia. Alvernia also has, I don't have just open hours, but they definitely have my contact information, and I'm happy to work with students on an appointment basis.
Thank you. I know that sexual assault is a problem on college campuses. Can you share maybe a couple things, maybe a statistic you might have about what is the preference of sexual assault, the prevalence of sexual assault on campuses, as well as if somebody was at a party and noticed that someone was really drunk, so there would be no way for them to consent, what could they do as a good bystander or somebody else being a peer at the college?
Okay, so the statistics that I looked up, it's 1 in 5 women, 1 in 16 men will experience a sexual assault while in college, and 90% of those sexual assaults will go unreported. Staggering. I mean, it's staggering. So some of the ways that you could step in to be a bystander, you know, we use the 3 Ds: delegate, direct, and distract. So just some examples of that would be, if you're a direct person or you're in a comfortable situation and you're fine saying, hey, I'm uncomfortable with the way you're treating that person, go for it. Be direct and intervene yourself in that situation if you feel that that's safe. Distract is a good one. Maybe you're not as comfortable. Maybe you don't know the people that you're kind of walking up on, or it's a situation where you might be a team member with the person that you don't think that their behavior is appropriate. In that case, maybe spill a drink, pull a party foul, somehow interject and ask for help to, you know, get directions to the diner because you've got to go for breakfast now. And the final one is delegate. Sometimes there's just situations where you simply aren't safe to be the one to intervene yourself. So at that time, you know, we suggest that if there is another friend of the person at the party that would feel comfortable being more direct or more distracting, go with that. Or if it's really a dangerous situation, call 911 or campus safety.
Thank you, Stacy. With sexual assault, not every victim wants to press charges. Not every victim will go to police. Not every victim will want to go to court, and we have to be okay with that. But now that we talked a little bit more about that, I kind of want to move on to the legal services. Like we said, this is not for everyone, but we want to make sure that everyone knows the options that they have. Jen Sawyer, as the legal advocate coordinator, could you tell me a little bit more about the program? What do the legal advocates provide for our clients?
Yeah, sure. So our legal advocates at Safe Berks are available Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. In order to be able to help victims of domestic violence and sexual assault through the court process. One of the things that they're available to do is provide accompaniments when folks decide that they feel like filing a protection from abuse or sexual violence protection order is something that might be a good safety option for them. We provide those services in English and in Spanish. And really our role as a legal advocate is not to give you legal advice, because that's what our attorneys are for. However, we're there to provide support and information about the process. It's a really new process for a lot of people, and they may not understand all the legalities and all of the terminology, and just even be very afraid to step foot in a courthouse for the first time. So our legal advocates are there to be able to provide support and information about the process, and then offer up some additional resources and counseling that might be available to them throughout that. Another thing that the Legal Advocate Program is able to assist with is providing accompaniments and information about the criminal process. So should a victim decide that they are going to report and law enforcement does follow through with filing some criminal charges, at that point in time, it might be super uncomfortable for a victim to have to face their accuser in court, and they might not have a support system to go with them. And so someone from Safe Berks would be able to accompany them through all of those processes that would take place through the criminal setting. So things like going with them to the police interview, through the preliminary hearing stage, through meeting with the district attorney's office, through all the way to trial and sentencing. Another thing that the legal advocates often assist folks with is referrals to other community agencies that might be able to assist them with additional needs that they have. We know not everyone who's sexually assaulted is documented. So there are several agencies, throughout the county that we would refer to in regard to maybe discussing their rights as far as their immigration status is concerned, and maybe hoping to help with the process of filing for a U visa or a T visa if they find themselves that they were in, a trafficking position, or now that they've become a victim of a crime, they may have those additional options available to them. We provide referrals to also other civil resources for them. So, if it's a partner or a spouse who sexually assaulted them, then we may be helping them, referring them to agencies like the Berks County Bar Association or Mid-Penn Legal Services to get some additional advice and information about how they might want to proceed with a divorce or a custody type situation, because we don't specifically handle those cases at Safe Berks. We also assist with the Victims Compensation Assistance Program. So should there be medical bills or other out-of-pocket expenses as a result of the assault, and the person does not have medical insurance, the Victims Compensation Assistance Program might be something that could help them. So we will help explain what that program is, discuss some of the eligibility requirements, and then if they do qualify, actually assist them in helping to file a claim. We also assist with things like the address confidentiality program if they feel like they might need to escape a violent situation and they don't want the offender to know where they're going to be moving to or living. We can assist them in keeping their address confidential going forward. So those are just some of the things that we can do.
Wonderful, thank you.
You're welcome.
Not everyone that goes into the courthouse has ever been in a courthouse before, and it's great that our legal advocates are there to show support and be there for our clients. But there's another side, and that is if they are pressing charges or they are trying to get the PFA or the SPI. So what I'm going to ask now is that Jennifer Thompson, who is one of our lawyers at Safe Berks, if you could please just tell our viewers a little bit more about what they might expect going into the courtroom.
Sure. It can be a very nerve-wracking experience. And so one of the things that I share with clients is that you don't come to court very early. We only tell you to be there 5 minutes before court is supposed to start. So usually it starts at 9 o'clock. and I tell clients to come there at 8:55. We don't want you to have to look at your abuser longer than necessary before going into the courtroom. And I also tell clients that they do not have to engage in a conversation with their abuser. I will do that, or our other attorney will do that. They do not have to talk to them in court. Many people think they do, and they don't. And one of the other things that I think is, an idea that many people have is that when they go into court, they think that immediately they have to appear before the judge, and that's not what happens. You walk into the courtroom and you wait for the judge to call roll to see if everyone is present. And then after that, we, the attorneys, will work with you and the defendant to see if we can come to an agreement. And you come up and you go before the judge with us. You don't go up to the judge alone. So they're never alone in the process.
Thank you. And now there are many different orders, and I know Safe Berks helps with a couple. So there's one called the Protection from Intimidation, or the Sexual Violence Protection Order. Can you talk a little bit more about what they actually are?
Sure. I'll start with the Sexual Violence Protection Order. That's most similar to the PFA. The main difference with that is the relationship that would be required under the PFA is not required under the Sexual Violence Protection Order. So someone could have been the victim of sexual violence. It could have happened through a stranger, through an acquaintance. My goodness, it could be a neighbor, it could be a friend, a coworker, and that is where they would seek protection, simply because the previous relationship required under a PFA is not there. So protection from intimidation orders is a little bit different. That seeks to protect minors under the age of 18 from harassment and stalking. So they are victims of harassment and stalking, and it would be by someone who is over the age of 18. And when they're seeking a protection from intimidation order, they would need to have an adult with them, someone over the age of 18, to actually help file the paperwork on their behalf.
Thank you. And you talked right away about what happens when we go into the courthouse, but do our clients meet with you ahead of the time, or do they just go right into the courtroom with you?
So the first thing that would happen is they would schedule an appointment with our legal advocates to meet with the attorneys, and they would meet me or Ms. Ellis ahead of time, and we would talk to them about their case and what they can expect, and then we would meet them in court for their scheduled hearing, and we would see them at that point. And certainly, we talk to them on the phone in between when they've met with us and when they're anticipating their court date. There's quite a bit of communication that happens during that time.
And how long do the orders last for? Do they ever expire? Is this something that they have to go back for?
So these orders would last for a maximum of 3 years. As to what our clients will get in court depends on what the defendant will agree to or not agree to. If it goes to a hearing, that will depend on the judge and how the judge is weighing the evidence that's presented as to how much time is granted. Certainly, if someone continues to have fear of their abuser, you can go back to court and ask that it be extended.
Thank you. Thank you. Megan, as the sexual response team coordinator, can you tell me a little bit more about the work you do with the district attorney's office and our systems partner in implementing these services throughout Berks County?
Yes. So first, I'm going to talk a little bit about what a sexual assault response team is. We call it SART for short. It's a multidisciplinary and collaborative team of professionals who work together as kind of a unit to respond to sexual assault. A SART looks different county to county, but the main team members of our SART are going to include the district attorney's office, law enforcement departments, hospital personnel, and team members from Safe Berks. We would also like to work closely with universities and other nonprofit organizations or agencies in the county. And talking about why the team is important is because it allows all team members to kind of have a voice. It brings everyone together, and there's sort of a platform for issues to be discussed that individuals on other groups of the team might not actually even know exist. So in the future, we plan to implement some sort of strategies and services by meeting monthly to address different protocols, policies, and any concerns that one team member might have that no one else knows about, or a problem that might need to be fixed. But the goal of this team is to kind of have a victim-centered and trauma-informed approach that will be unique to what a victim needs at the time.
And why do you think it's important to have a actual response team? Is it just for systems advocacy, or is it for our clients and our victims and survivors of sexual assault? What would be the importance to them?
So some of these other groups have other jobs that aren't necessarily focused on what the victim's doing and their role. So I think bringing everyone to the table to talk about problems that maybe the district attorney doesn't understand or doesn't think about, or law enforcement or even us as advocates aren't thinking about, it kind of allows for everyone to have the same goals and the same mindset moving forward that might be the best for a victim and might be able to address some of their needs better.
Thank you. So it's really important to make sure that the victim is the center of everything, that we're always bringing it back to the victim.
Yeah, and that we're trauma informed and able to understand that their responses might not be normal and might be kind of, might be annoying to a prosecutor or to an officer, but if we're able to better educate everyone and work together, then we can address their needs more appropriately.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that information, Megan. So there are a couple other general questions I just want to kind of throw out there. Anybody can respond to these. Feel free to jump right on in. So when we talked in the beginning about Sexual Assault Awareness Month, we talked about the campaign of I Ask, which is about consent, and we talked about how sexual assault is when consent doesn't exist. Now I'm thinking that maybe we might want to define what is consent.
Well, certainly, I think we should say what isn't consent. I think consent does have to be knowingly made and voluntary in nature. And certainly, you know, if someone is incapable of consenting, and that can happen for multiple reasons, consent has not taken place. If you are passed out on a couch, you do not have the ability to consent.
Right, and I think there's another misconception that once one time they consent, they can continue to consent, and that's not true. You must consent to the act at each point, and you need to keep checking in with that person and making sure everything's okay. Just because they were okay with taking off their shirt doesn't mean that they were okay with taking off their pants. So my next question would be, as a friend or family member who was just told by a friend or family member that they had been sexually assaulted, what could they do or what could they say to that person?
I think the most important thing is just letting them know that you believe them and thank them for actually taking the time to share something like that with them, because most people don't want to share it, and if they're trusting you enough to do that, that's a big deal. I think, and also just telling them that it's kind of their decision how they want to move forward. If they would choose to go to police or the hospital, you support them in that decision, and if they would choose not to, you support them in that decision as well.
I also like to tell them that I'm very sorry it happened to them, as well as they did nothing to deserve this. It had nothing to do with them. It was done to them.
Absolutely. So if a friend or family member wanted to offer services, suggestions, or kind of just tell this person what options they have available, what options could they tell them about?
I would say one of the most important things that they could do is tell them about Safe Berks and the services that we're here to provide for them. Because oftentimes friends and family members aren't really sure what to say or what to do or where to suggest that someone go for help. So offering Safe Berks as a referral, I think would be a really great option to start with. Go ahead, Macy, sorry.
That's what I was going to say. I think it's really important to point them in the direction of Safe Berks, because we have everything available that they would need. And if we don't have it available, we'll find it.
Great, thank you. Is sexual assault just a female's issue?
No.
No.
Mhm.
So I think that's the biggest misconception when it comes to sexual assault. A lot of people brush it off that boys will be boys, and they will brush it off that, oh, it's she did this, she did that. But it's not always a female that's been assaulted. There are many males, I believe the statistic is 1 in 6 men in their lifetime are sexually assaulted. It is not just a female option. And I want to make sure that we do specify here that Safe Berks services are for all men, women, and children. Was there any questions that any of you had to ask that you wanted to ask any of the other panels?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, at this point, I want to say thank you again for all the valuable information that you just shared for our viewers and for joining me today. Safe Berks is the Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Crisis Center for all of Berks County, and we are located in Reading. If you or someone you know is a victim or survivor of sexual assault, Safe Berks is here for you. We are available 365 days a year, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. All of our services are free and confidential, and we also offer all of our services in Spanish and English and any other language that you might need. Our toll-free hotline is 844-789-SAFE. We also have a text line, so if you're not comfortable calling in or you're not safe enough to call in, you can also text us. You can text Safe Berks to 20121. Thanks again for tuning in to the Sexual Assault Awareness Month Expert Panel Discussion. Stay safe, everyone.